There comes a moment in your life when you realize you've been pouring into everyone else's cup while yours runs empty. You've been clapping for others, cheering them on, while your own dreams collect dust on the shelf. And it hits you like a thunderstorm on a sunny day. You've been so busy watching others live, you forgot to start living for yourself. You scroll, you compare, you doubt, you delay. But let me tell you something, straight from the soul. You were not born to be a spectator in the arena of your own life. You were born to build, to rise, to evolve. So it's time to shift your focus, time to come home to you. There comes a point where exhaustion doesn't just live in your body, it takes root in your soul. You walk through your days doing everything for everyone, and yet somehow you're the one left depleted. You smile when you're breaking inside. You show up, hold it together, handle responsibilities like a soldier, but deep down you know you're running on fumes. And still you keep giving your time, giving your heart, giving your energy to people who never ask how you're doing. You feel guilty for saying no. You feel selfish for choosing rest, but let this be your wake-up call. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't keep sacrificing your own peace to keep others comfortable. That's not strength. That's slow self-destruction. And one day, if you don't choose yourself, life will force you to. Your body will break. Your mind will crash. Your spirit will start whispering, enough. So listen. Listen now before it's too late. Choosing you is not betrayal. It's survival. You were not born to be everyone's superhero. You are not required to break yourself just to prove your love, your loyalty, or your commitment. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that selflessness means forgetting ourselves, that putting everyone ahead of us is noble. But what's noble about being empty? What's holy about being hollow? You're allowed to say, I'm tired. You're allowed to say, I need a moment. Because truth be told, if you don't step back to refill your soul, you won't be able to serve anybody. Not fully, not joyfully, not from a place of truth. You'll just be showing up with a fake smile and a broken heart, and over time that becomes your normal. But don't normalize burnout. Don't glorify being available to everyone except yourself. You matter too. Your well-being is not a luxury, it's a necessity. The world needs the best of you, not what's left of you. And to give the best of you, you must take care of you. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. You need rest like plants need water. You need peace like lungs need air. The problem is we wait until the breakdown comes to start paying attention. We wait until our anxiety screams louder than our ambition. We wait until our body shuts down, until our joy disappears, until our relationships suffer. Then we finally whisper, I need help. But what if you didn't wait? What if, starting today, you made your own health, your own energy, your own joy a priority, not an afterthought? That's what reclaiming your energy is about. It's not about abandoning others. It's about returning to yourself. It's about putting yourself back in the equation. It's about asking, what do I need today? And giving yourself permission to receive it without guilt. You deserve to be a priority in your own life. And when you take care of yourself first, you don't become selfish. You become stronger, clearer, more capable, because now you're giving from a place of overflow, not depletion. Too often you give and give, hoping someone will notice, hoping someone will say, hey, are you okay? But here's the truth that might hurt. You can't wait on others to protect your peace. You have to be the guardian of your own soul. That means setting boundaries. That means saying no. That means disconnecting from people and situations that drain you. Some people will call it selfish. Let them, because they've gotten used to the version of you that abandons yourself. They've gotten comfortable with your silence, your compliance, your exhaustion. But you weren't born to be burned out for someone else's comfort. You were born to be whole, vibrant, fulfilled. And to get there, you've got to make tough choices. You've got to choose you, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Reclaiming your energy is not a one-time act. It's a daily decision to stop betraying yourself for the approval of others. When you reclaim your energy, something powerful happens. You start to see clearly. You realize how much of your life was shaped by other people's needs, other people's timelines, other people's expectations. You realize how long you've been ignoring your own voice just to avoid disappointing someone else. And you start asking questions like, what do I want? What dreams have I buried? What parts of me have I silenced? And then you begin to rise, slowly, gently, boldly. You start rebuilding a relationship with yourself. You start listening to your body, honoring your emotions, following your intuition. You start healing. You start shedding roles you were never meant to carry. You step into your authenticity. And from that place, from that fullness, you become unstoppable. Because now you're moving from purpose, not pressure, from clarity, not chaos, from peace, not panic. That's the power of choosing to refill your own cup first. There is nothing glamorous about overextending yourself. There's no trophy for emotional exhaustion. Yet we walk around wearing our burnout like a badge of honor, like it proves something. But what does it prove? That we've forgotten ourselves? That we've prioritized everyone but us? That we've confused productivity with worthiness? That's not the life you were meant for. You were meant to rest, to breathe, to enjoy. You were meant to move through life with alignment, not just effort. When you focus on reclaiming your energy, you learn how to give better. You learn how to love from a place of overflow. You learn that your best self, the one full of life, of strength, of creativity, that version of you only shows up when you are fed, not when you are starving. So stop apologizing for needing time. Stop justifying your rest. Your healing doesn't need permission. It needs commitment. And the moment you say, I choose me, your entire life will begin to shift. Understand this clearly. Burnout is not a badge. Sacrifice doesn't always equal love. And being everything to everyone will eventually leave you as nothing to yourself. You were not created to be a martyr of your own potential. You are not a machine. You are a soul. And your soul needs space. Space to breathe, space to recover, space to feel again. When you reclaim your energy, you reclaim your power. You stop surviving and start living. You start creating a life that feeds you, not one that drains you. And the more you fill your own cup, the more you inspire others to do the same. You become a mirror of strength, not sacrifice. A vessel of wisdom, not weariness. So go ahead, step back, unplug, heal. Because a full cup overflows effortlessly, and that overflow will bless the world in ways your exhaustion never could. There's a silent poison spreading through people's lives, and most don't even realize they're sipping it daily. It doesn't come in a bottle. It doesn't scream when it enters. It's quiet, it's subtle, but it's deadly. It's comparison, and it's robbing people of peace, purpose, and confidence. You scroll through social media, see someone winning, smiling, thriving, and suddenly your joy feels small. Your progress feels meaningless. Your life feels behind. But here's the truth no one tells you. What you see is not the whole story. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You're measuring your chapter 1 against their chapter 20. That's not fair. That's not real. That's self-destruction disguised as ambition. The mind is powerful, but it's also fragile. And if you don't guard it, if you don't learn to silence that voice that says you're not enough, you'll spend your whole life chasing someone else's version of success, never realizing your own was always within reach. Every time you measure your life against someone else's, you chip away at your own identity. You start moving, not from purpose, but from pressure. You stop asking, what do I want? And instead start chasing, what do they have that I don't? That's how dreams die. Not because you weren't capable, but because you were too distracted by someone else's spotlight. You forget how far you've come. You downplay your progress. You stop celebrating your growth because someone else is growing faster, louder, flashier. But growth isn't a race. Life isn't a competition. And someone else's beauty, brilliance, or breakthrough doesn't mean there's less for you. There is no shortage of success, but there is a shortage of self-belief. And that's what comparison feeds on. It weakens your faith in yourself. It whispers lies until you believe them. And if you don't build mental armor, if you don't protect your inner voice, you'll drown in someone else's noise. The saddest thing about comparison is that it blinds you from your own brilliance. You could be walking in power, making progress, healing, rebuilding, evolving, but one glance at someone else and suddenly you forget who you are. You forget the fire inside you. The dreams that once kept you up at night now feel small compared to what others are flaunting. But here's the truth. You don't have to dim your light to admire someone else's. You don't have to become someone else to be worthy. The only race you're running is the one against the old version of you. And that version, they'd be proud of how far you've come. Don't dishonor your journey by constantly looking sideways. Stay grounded in your lane. Stay loyal to your process. Because what's meant for you will never miss you. And it will never arrive faster just because you're watching someone else win. You have to protect your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Everything begins there. Your beliefs, your confidence, your decisions, your peace. And if you let comparison camp out in your thoughts, it will build a home and make you its prisoner. That's why you need boundaries, not just with people, but with content, with scrolling, with conversations that leave you feeling less than, with environments that trigger your insecurity. You have to be intentional about what you consume, because what you consume shapes what you become. Guard your energy, feed your spirit truth. Remind yourself daily that you're not behind, you're not lacking, and you're not late. Life is not a one-size-fits-all path. We all bloom at different times. And sometimes the greatest blessings come after the longest seasons of waiting. Trust your timing, trust your process, but above all, trust yourself. Comparison doesn't just steal joy, it steals time. Time you could be using to grow, build, and evolve. Time you waste staring at someone else's lane when your own is wide open, ready for you to run in it. Think about how many dreams have been delayed because someone believed they weren't good enough compared to someone else. Think about how many gifts went unused, how many talents stayed buried, how many voices went silent, and for what? For a mirage. Because that's what comparison is. It's an illusion. You never see the pain behind the picture, the struggle behind the smile, the effort behind the ease. Everyone's fighting a battle you can't see, so stop treating someone else's victory as your failure. Their win is not your loss. Their light doesn't cast a shadow over yours. You've got your own lane, your own pace, your own path. And once you lock into that, really lock in, you realize you were never behind. You were just being prepared. People rarely talk about the emotional weight comparison brings. It's heavy. It sits on your shoulders, whispers in your ears, and clouds your vision. It convinces you you're not talented, not worthy, not ready. It tells you everyone's better, faster, smarter, and you start shrinking in your own story. You stop dreaming boldly. You second guess your intuition. You live small to avoid the shame of not measuring up. But hear this. Your story was never meant to be a replica. You are not a copy. You're an original. That means your timeline won't match anyone else's. Your success won't look the same. And that's the beauty of it. Stop letting false timelines steal your truth. Stop letting digital illusions write your worth. You have no idea how powerful you are when you stop looking over your shoulder and start looking in the mirror. Because the moment you start appreciating what's already inside you, that's the moment comparison loses its grip. The key to freedom is focus. Not on them, on you, on your growth, your habits, your healing, your voice. The more you stay rooted in your own lane, the less you feel the pull to compare. And when you do feel it, because we all do, don't shame yourself, just pause. Breathe, come back to truth. Ask yourself, what's real? What's mine? What do I have that I've been ignoring? That's how you shift the power. That's how you take your mind back. Because your mind is your most valuable resource and it deserves protection. Speak life over it. Fill it with gratitude. Honor its uniqueness. Train it to see your lane as enough. Because it is. You are. And every time you protect your mind from comparison, you make space for your confidence to grow, your dreams to breathe, and your truth to shine. That's not just self-love, that's self-respect. You spend so much of your time trying to fix other people, trying to save them, support them, understand them, even when they keep breaking you in the process. You try to be their safe place, their problem solver, their emotional anchor. You listen when no one listens to you. You show up when you're the one needing to be held. And somewhere in the midst of helping them heal, you forget your own wounds. You forget that you are allowed to be your own project. You forget that your healing matters too. And maybe it's time you stop trying to hold the world together and start holding yourself together. You can't rescue everyone. You can't be someone's whole foundation when your own is cracking. That's not love. That's a distraction. That's self-neglect. You are not put here to be everyone's emotional first aid. You were put here to grow, to evolve, to rebuild yourself from the inside out. And that work, that personal, uncomfortable, necessary work, it starts when you stop pouring all your energy into fixing others and finally turn the mirror toward yourself. There's a harsh truth that most people run from. Healing yourself is harder than helping others heal. It's easy to focus on someone else's mess because it means you get to ignore your own. You get to delay the self-reflection. You get to delay the pain that comes from really looking within. But that delay, it cost you. It cost you your peace, your progress, your sense of identity. You keep trying to be the glue in everyone else's life, but you're the one falling apart silently. And it's not because you're weak. It's because you've forgotten to pour into the most important person in your life, you. You are not here to manage other people's chaos while your own dreams are buried under their weight. You are here to build something meaningful, yourself. So ask yourself, when was the last time you showed up for you? Not for them, not to impress, not to save, but for your own soul, your own healing, your own future. The hardest part about shifting focus to yourself is unlearning the belief that self-work is selfish. That's a lie passed down through generations. We were taught to serve, to sacrifice, to give until we had nothing left. But what if the greatest gift you could offer the world wasn't your service? It was your wholeness, your strength, your clarity. What if the best version of you isn't the one that holds others together, but the one who finally chooses to rebuild themselves? That's not selfish. That's legacy work. That's what changes generations. When you choose to break your patterns, to face your pain, to work on your inner world, you become a lighthouse. Not just for others, but for yourself. You start attracting peace instead of chaos. You start building boundaries instead of breaking under pressure. And slowly you begin to realize the version of you that was always saving others was never fully alive. The one that saves yourself, that's the one who begins to live. It's easy to wear the role of the helper, the healer, the fixer. It gives you a sense of purpose. It makes you feel needed. But sometimes being needed becomes a drug, and you forget what it feels like to be whole without someone depending on you. You confuse usefulness with worth, and when people no longer need fixing, you feel lost. That's the danger of living through others. You lose your own identity trying to maintain theirs. But you don't need to be someone's crutch to be valuable. You don't need to be the hero in someone else's storm to prove your strength. Your value isn't defined by how much you sacrifice for others. It's defined by how deeply you're willing to invest in your own evolution. You are the project. You always were. And when you make peace with that, when you finally stop outsourcing your worth to how much you give, you start to reclaim your power in ways that no one else ever could. Building yourself requires honesty. And that's where most people stop, because being honest with yourself means confronting habits, patterns, and pain you spent years avoiding. It means admitting that you've been busy helping others just so you wouldn't have to face your own broken pieces. It means saying out loud, I'm not okay, and I haven't been for a long time. That truth, it's raw, it's painful, but it's also the beginning of real transformation. Because until you acknowledge where you are, you'll never get to where you're meant to go. You can't fake healing. You can't pretend your way into peace. You've got to do the work. And it starts with asking, what am I avoiding by focusing on everyone else? What have I buried so deep that I use others as a distraction from my own growth? That kind of self-reflection, it's brutal, but it's also the most freeing work you'll ever do. Every day you wake up and put others first, you send yourself a message. You don't matter as much. And over time, that message embeds itself in your spirit. You begin to operate from a place of unworthiness. You accept less. You tolerate more pain. You settle. And eventually you forget what it feels like to dream big for yourself. But hear this clearly. You matter. Your dreams matter. You are not here to be background music in someone else's story. You are the main character in your own. And that means you have a responsibility to heal, to grow, to evolve, not just for yourself, but for everyone who will benefit from your wholeness. Because when you become the project, when you commit to rebuilding the broken parts of yourself, you don't have to feel guilty for choosing you. You don't have to apologize for stepping back from being the fixer, the therapist, the emotional sponge. You have permission to put the energy you've poured into others back into yourself. To ask, what does healing look like for me? What does growth feel like on my terms? What dreams have I left behind while carrying everyone else's weight? Because here's the truth. When you choose to build yourself, you don't become less loving, you become more powerful. You love from a healed place. You give from a full cup. You connect without losing yourself. You lead without breaking down. That's the difference between saving others and saving yourself. One drains you, the other transforms you. And once you start the journey of building you, you'll never want to go back. Because nothing feels better than finally becoming the version of yourself you were always meant to be. Strong, whole, and finally free. There's something you need to understand early in your journey. No matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. You'll be judged if you dream big and judged if you play it safe. Judged if you're loud, judged if you're quiet. Judged if you stay in the same place. Judged if you try to break free. That's the nature of people. They project. They criticize what they don't understand. They label what they fear. And if you live your life trying to get everyone's approval, you'll stay stuck. You'll stay hidden. You'll stay small. Because the moment you start growing, the whispers start. The moment you decide to chase something greater, the noise gets louder. But that noise, it's just distraction. You were never supposed to be understood by people who stopped growing. Their opinion doesn't define your path. It doesn't deserve your energy. Let them talk, let them laugh, let them doubt, because while they're watching, you're working, and one day the results will speak louder than their opinions ever could. There's a kind of strength that comes when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable, when you finally realize you don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your progress, your pain, or your purpose. People love to talk, especially when they see you doing what they never had the courage to attempt. Your growth becomes their trigger. Your discipline becomes their discomfort. And sometimes the people closest to you will be the loudest doubters. Not because you're wrong, but because your elevation threatens their stagnation. Don't take it personal. Take it as confirmation. It means you're breaking molds. It means you're doing something different. And anything different will always be questioned, criticized, or ridiculed. Until it works. And then those same people will ask how you did it. So keep building. Keep climbing. Don't look back to respond. Let your silence be your strength. Let your results be your reply. When you let judgment control your moves, you're no longer living, you're performing. You wake up thinking about who might be watching, who might be criticizing, who might be mocking. And every step you take is filtered through their imagined opinion. That's not life. That's imprisonment. And the chains are invisible, but real. You have dreams locked away because of fear. Ideas you never started because someone might laugh. Parts of yourself you've buried because someone once told you it was too much. But here's what they don't tell you. People will talk whether you succeed or fail. So if you're going to be judged anyway, you might as well be judged while doing something that sets your soul on fire. You might as well build the life you want instead of shrinking into the one they expect. Because no matter what you do, stay quiet or speak up, someone will have an opinion. So choose to live for yours. That's the only one that matters in the end. Every time you silence your ambition for the sake of others' comfort, you betray your calling. You choose acceptance over authenticity. But here's the reality. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone has the capacity to see your vision. That's okay. That's not your problem to solve. Your only job is to keep walking. Keep moving in purpose. Keep building step by step, brick by brick. They don't have to believe in you. They weren't given the blueprint. You were. So when the noise rises, when they say you've changed, when they question your direction, when they doubt your next move, stay grounded. Not in their voices, but in your vision. And it's not up for a group vote. The louder the criticism, the deeper your focus. Should become, let their judgment fuel your discipline. Let their disbelief sharpen your edge. Because while they're talking, you're transforming. People love to talk about you when they think they've figured you out. But they don't know your story. They don't know the nights you cried, the battles you fought, the strength it took just to wake up and try again. They don't know the trauma you're healing from, the cycles you're breaking, the dreams you're daring to believe in, and yet they judge. Quickly, harshly, blindly. That's how the world works. But you don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them access to your truth. You owe yourself consistency. You owe yourself growth. You owe yourself the chance to become everything you were created to be. And that can't happen if you let opinions decide your direction. There will always be someone louder, someone bolder with their doubts, but don't match their noise. Match it with action, with consistency, with elevation. Because that's the kind of response that leaves them speechless. That's the kind of response that changes everything. You need to understand that greatness is lonely at first. When you start focusing on yourself, when you pull away from the crowd, when you stop seeking approval and start chasing purpose, the silence gets heavy. People start disappearing. Conversations dry up. The phone stops ringing. Not because you changed in a bad way, but because you stopped performing. And that shift, it makes people uncomfortable. It exposes things in them they've been trying to avoid. Your discipline challenges their excuses. Your growth threatens their comfort. And they'll mask that discomfort in judgment. They'll call you distant, arrogant, cold. But don't go back just to make them feel better. Don't water down your ambition to keep shallow relationships alive. Keep moving, keep building, because eventually your growth will attract people who speak your language, who celebrate your evolution instead of criticizing it. And until then, let them talk. Their words can't stop what's destined for you. At some point, you'll realize the power in staying silent and focused. You'll stop trying to prove, defend, explain. You'll let the noise be noise, because when you're truly locked in on your purpose, judgment becomes background static. You don't have time to argue with people who don't even have the courage to chase their own dreams. You don't have energy to give to people who only show up to doubt you. Let them question your moves, let them gossip, let them assume, because while they're wasting time talking about your life, you're building one they could never imagine. You're creating something real, something lasting, something built from discipline, not validation. And when it's done, when the foundation is solid and the vision is alive, those same voices will grow quiet. Not because they stopped judging, but because your results left no room for argument. That's what happens when you stay focused. That's what happens when you keep building, even when they're watching. There's a quiet kind of pain that creeps in when you look around and start comparing your path to everyone else's. You see someone else winning, someone else thriving, and suddenly your progress doesn't feel like enough. Your steps seem too small, your pace too slow. You start questioning your worth, doubting your efforts, wondering if you're behind in life. But let me remind you, you're not late. You're on your path. The reason you feel so defeated is because you're comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You're measuring your beginning against someone's highlight reel. You're forgetting that every successful person was once where you are now, confused, uncertain, just trying to find their footing. But they didn't get there by watching others. They got there by staying focused day in and day out. Your story doesn't need to look like theirs. Your timeline is not broken. It's uniquely yours. The only person you should compare yourself to is the version of you from yesterday. That's it. That's the only race that matters. It's easy to lose yourself in a world that keeps showing you everyone's wins, but never their wounds. Social media has become a stage, and most people are just performing. They show you the success, the vacations, the trophies, but they hide the struggle, the setbacks, the sacrifices, and here you are comparing your real life to someone's filtered life. No wonder you feel like you're not enough. But you are. You are more than enough. You are growing in silence. You are building something real, something meaningful. And yes, it may be slow. And yes, it may not look flashy, but it's yours. And real growth is never glamorous. It's early mornings, it's late nights. It's fighting self-doubt, it's choosing discipline over distraction. Don't let the illusion of overnight success rob you of your own journey. You're not behind, you're just building something that lasts. And that takes time. So stay in your lane, protect your energy. The race isn't to be first, it's to be faithful. The truth is, comparison is the thief of joy. It robs you of your gratitude. It blinds you to your blessings. It makes you overlook how far you've already come. You forget the nights you almost gave up. You forget the battles you've won that no one clapped for. You forget the progress you've made because your eyes are fixed on someone else's finish line. But growth is not linear. Success doesn't come with a universal clock. Everyone blooms at their own pace. And just because it's taking you longer doesn't mean you're failing. It means your foundation is being built deeper. Don't you see? The deeper the foundation, the higher the rise. So while others may rise fast, if their roots aren't deep, they won't last. But you're doing it the right way. You're building depth, character, strength. That can't be rushed. So trust the slow season. Trust the quiet days. They're not wasted. They're working. You just can't always see it yet. We live in a culture obsessed with speed. Everyone wants fast results, instant validation, immediate success. But that's not how real growth works. The most beautiful things in life take time, like healing, like building trust, like discovering your true purpose. And when you compare your pace to someone else's, you disrespect your own process. You try to force a timeline that was never meant for you. But you can't microwave greatness. You can't shortcut self-discovery. What's meant to last will never be rushed. So take a breath. Be patient with yourself. You're not lost, you're just learning. You're not failing, you're just unfolding. And maybe your path looks different because you're meant to build something different. That's the beauty of it. Your story will not look like theirs, and it's not supposed to. What's meant for you will never miss you, but if you keep comparing, you might miss it. So keep your head down, keep showing up. Your time is coming, and when it does, it'll make perfect sense. Comparison also blinds you to your own strengths. You get so focused on what others are doing that you forget what you bring to the table. You start to downplay your gifts, your passion, your vision, because it doesn't look like theirs. But your difference is your power, your unique voice, your unique path, your unique pain. It all matters. It all builds something no one else can replicate. You're not supposed to be like them. You're supposed to be like you. So stop trying to fit into someone else's blueprint. Make your own. Because when you finally embrace your journey instead of competing with someone else's, you unlock a freedom that comparison could never offer. You begin to move with confidence, you begin to build without fear, and you stop looking side to side and start looking inward. That's where the magic begins. Not in trying to match someone else's level, but in mastering your own lane with full conviction. There's another danger in comparison. It breeds resentment, not just toward others, but toward yourself. You start to hate your life. You start to doubt your worth. You start to question your every move, and suddenly nothing feels good enough. Even your wins feel small. That's the trap. You become so consumed with someone else's progress that you lose all appreciation for your own. But you have no idea what it took for them to get there. You don't know their battles. You don't know their sacrifices. All you see is the surface. And meanwhile, your own life, the one you've been building with grit and grace, starts to feel like a failure, but it's not. It's sacred. It's unfolding in divine timing. Don't let jealousy poison your perspective. Turn that energy inward. Let it fuel you. Let it remind you of what you're capable of. Not because you want what they have, but because you're ready to unlock what's already inside you. The only way to truly win in life is to stay rooted in who you are and where you're going. That means celebrating others without questioning yourself. That means clapping for someone else's success while still believing in your own. That means knowing that someone else's light doesn't dim yours, it just shows what's possible. So stop scrolling past your worth. Stop letting other people's lives become the measuring stick for your happiness. You're doing better than you think. You're further along than you feel. And even if no one's watching, even if no one's validating you, keep going. The breakthroughs don't come from being the fastest or the loudest. They come from being consistent, committed, and true to your journey. Your chapter 1 matters just as much as their chapter 20. Don't skip the process. Don't rush the climb. Walk your path with your head held high, because where you're going, it's worth every step. There comes a moment in every journey where everything goes quiet. The calls slow down, the circle gets smaller, the noise fades, and suddenly it's just you, alone with your thoughts, your fears, your doubts, your dreams. At first it feels like abandonment, like something went wrong, like the world forgot you. But that silence, that stillness, that's not punishment, that's preparation. That's where transformation begins. Because growth doesn't happen in the crowd, it happens in the quiet, in the space where no one's watching, in the place where validation can't reach you. It's in that solitude where you learn who you really are, without the titles, without the praise, without the applause. When there's no one to impress, no one to perform for, that's when the real you starts to rise. And it's hard, it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Because who you become in isolation will be the foundation for who you are in elevation. So don't run from the quiet, learn to sit in it. There are answers there that noise can't give you. You see, most people fear being alone because they confuse it with being lonely. But those two are not the same. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Isolation for growth, that's the presence of transformation. That's the sacred place where you peel back the layers that life, expectations, and other people's opinions placed on you. It's where you stop asking, what do they want from me, and start asking, what do I want for myself? It's where the masks fall.